We hand over parts of our business to AI without understanding its bias. We risk replicating the very system we say we are trying to shift away from.
We are represented. We are represented. We are represented.
Welcome to Represented, the podcast. I'm Aniki Shuru, racial equity coach for online business owners who want to be intentionally inclusive by building a business that is racially equitable. I created this podcast to normalize a conversation around racial inclusion so that fear is no longer the barrier that gets in the way of doing this work. This isn't about perfection, it's about progress. Whether you're taking your first steps or you're well-versed in the journey towards racial equity, this space is for you. So welcome home, friend. Let's get started.
From coast to coast, around the globe, we are represented.
June 30 is just around the corner, and that means it's the end of financial year soon. To mark the moment, I'm offering something really special, 50% off my signature program, Represented. This is a program where I support online business owners on their racial awareness journey so they can build businesses that are intentionally inclusive from the inside out. And right now, we're not just navigating inclusion, we're navigating it in the age of artificial intelligence. AI can be a brilliant tool, but let's face it, it's not neutral. The more we rely on it to streamline our systems and support our content creation, the more we risk building bias into our businesses without even realizing it. That's why Represented now includes guidance on how to use AI ethically and inclusively, while still holding space for the heart of this work, racial equity. When you join by 30 June, you'll save $1,000. You'll get instant access to the pre-work module and be all set for the next round in October. So, if you've been wanting, or rather waiting for the right time to do inclusion work in a space that's been lovingly prepared with outstanding resources tailored to online business owners, this is your moment. All the details are at anikishuru.com/represented, and the link is in the show notes. Hey, welcome back to another episode of Represented Podcast. Thank you so much for tuning in. The last few weeks I've had some extraordinary guests whom I know you've loved learning from, and most recently, Fabrice Omankoy, the founder of Black Wealth Connect. If you haven't tuned in recently, I highly recommend you include them on your playlist queue and get on listening. But today, I have a solo episode, and I'm excited to share with you some of the dangers I see when it comes to depending on AI to automate parts of our business. And whilst there are many pros for the case of AI, there are also cons. And as business owners, as we look to continuous growth and implementing efficient systems, one thing I want us to keep in mind is we cannot automate inclusion. I want you to think about this. What happens when we let convenience replace care, especially as coaches? When we start using AI to write our emails, create our course content, even structure our sales funnels, but we haven't taken the time to examine the values that are being built into those systems. AI is everywhere. It's smart, it's fast, but it's not neutral. And when we hand over parts of our business to AI without understanding its bias, we risk replicating the very system we say we are trying to shift away from. Here's what I'm seeing taking place. Something I'm calling the rise of AI and the comfort trap. AI has become our assistant, our strategist, our copywriter. It's built into tools like Canva, Instagram captions, our email CRMs, and so many other tools. But AI is trained on data, and data reflects society. And if you've been listening to this podcast for any amount of time, you will know our society is not equitable. So if we're not careful, AI doesn't just replicate our systems, it replicates our biases. Now, according to a 2023 report by the AI Now Institute, most major generative AI models have been trained on datasets sourced overwhelmingly from North America and Western Europe, meaning the cultural default is white, Western, and English speaking. In one widely cited study by MIT Media Lab, facial recognition software performed with a, get this, 99% accuracy for white men, but it dropped significantly to only 65% for darker skinned women. Now, this becomes a clear translation of whose data matters and whose doesn't. And while you might not be building facial recognition into your coaching offer, the same logic applies to your copy, your tone, your images, and your automated systems. When you let AI speak for you, it starts to shape your business voice. And if your values aren't baked in, someone else's biases will be. Let me give you a bit of an example so this kind of sinks in a little bit more. Let's say you are a coach and you want AI to help you write inclusive copy. You share as much information as you can about your business, your values, and the kind of message that resonates with your ideal clients. You describe your ideal clients, you share their images, and even testimonials, and you press go. Within a few seconds, AI has crafted an inclusive copy ready for you to review. But what you don't realize is the invisible bias that has been sprinkled throughout. Based on the lack of racial diversity with your clients, AI has a propensity to speak to the majority, and in so doing, will create the kind of content that speaks to the dominant group, thus amplifying the bias that your coaching is best suited to a particular racialized group, and that in the long run will hurt your business. So, as you are happily making grammatical tweaks here and there, what you are missing to see is how the copy now amplifies the dominant group and alienates those who might not belong to that dominant group, automatically making them feel perhaps you are not the coach for them. Here's the truth I want you to sit with today. Inclusion is not a tone of voice. It's not a checkbox, and it cannot be automated. Inclusion is a practice. It's a commitment. But more than anything, it is a state of being. AI can be a tool, yes, but only you can bring the lived awareness, the intentionality, and the accountability that inclusion demands. And when we skip that step, what happens? We end up sounding like everyone else. Vague values, beige branding, the same talking points, the same client avatars. And right now, in a coaching industry that is already saturated, What will set you apart isn't how much content you're able to produce, because with AI, we're able to produce so much. What is going to be really important is how deeply you can connect. It's not how many reels you can generate, and I know you get this, but it's about how many potential clients see themselves represented in your content and feel you can hold space for them. That's why my 10-week signature program Represented has evolved. Yes, it's still about racial equity. It's still about helping you show up as a more inclusive coach and course creator. But now it also meets this moment, the AI moment. In the updated curriculum, we explore how AI bias shows up in business tools, what inclusive prompts actually look like, how to apply your own values into the tools you use, and how to stay grounded in human-centered leadership, even when tech makes it tempting to opt out. Because this is what it comes down to. You can automate your workflow, but you cannot automate inclusion. You can streamline your systems, but you cannot shortcut your responsibility. And right now with Represented, available for 50% off until 30 June, you have the opportunity to not just keep up with AI, but lead with it ethically and equitably. Look, it's great to build a business that works, but what's even better, building one that works for more people. You don't have to get it perfect. You just have to get in the room. Come do this work with me. Represented starts again in October, and this end of financial year offer, you'll save $1,000 and get immediate access to the pre-work module. Head over to anikishuru.com/represented to learn more, or DM me on Instagram if you've got any questions. All those links are in the show notes. And if this episode has spoken to you, share it with your team, with your business bestie, or with that client who is quietly wondering if it's time to step up. Because guess what? It is.
We are represented. We are represented. We are represented.
Thank you so much for tuning in. Why don't you go ahead and hit that subscribe button and leave a review so this podcast can reach more online business owners, and together we can begin to normalize racial inclusion in the online coaching space. I'd love to acknowledge the traditional owners of the land where this podcast episode was recorded, the Wiradjuri people in central New South Wales, Australia. Music produced in Nairobi, Kenya by Patrick St. P. Mbaru and Kambua Mathu. Vocals by Joanne Matata.
Represented.